Hi, it's now about the sort of like the end of it's V Day, isn't it? V Day. Because like we won the Second World War, like, so, hey, 75 years. We haven't won the coronavirus war yet, have we? So we're all sort of stuck here still, haven't we? See, we're all in this corona thing, this coronavirus thing, together. But we can't go anywhere. But I think if you're in isolation and your grandmother's in isolation, imagine grandmothers need hugs. That is a law. That is a fact. Grandmothers do need hugs. Yeah? I'd say so. Right, now if the children have stopped school and the children are all at home, yeah? So all the children are basically at home tonight with mummy and daddy, yeah? And they have been for the last 4 or 5 weeks or months or whatever, how long this thing is going on for. So, right, now think about this. Mummy and daddy and the children, right, have been locked up in the house because of this coronavirus, yeah? Because of corona, you know, like everyone's got this flu, and well, some people have got this flu. But everyone's stuck at home, yeah? So you're stuck at home with mummy and daddy, and it has been for about 4 or 5 weeks. So you do not have the flu, do you? So therefore you do not have the flu. Guarantee your children, if you've been isolating with your children in the house, you do not have the flu, yeah? Okay. Well, some of the people, I mean, I'm just saying. But, okay, grandma is stuck on her own in her flat, in her house, or whatever. Right, I think it's safe enough. I really do think it's safe enough. If the children have been isolating with their parents for about 2 or 3 weeks with this virus, and grandma has been isolating for 2 or 3 weeks with this virus, well, months really, isn't it, mum? With this virus, I think it's safe enough for the children to get back to their grandparents. Because I think if the children have been isolating because of this coronavirus, yeah, with their parents, so they're isolating, so therefore they don't have the flu. And grandma, nana, or whatever, is dying for a fucking hug. I guarantee you, the one thing, during this coronavirus shit, 2020, one thing grandma needs is a hug from her grandchildren. That's what grandma wants. Do you think? Because everyone's in isolation, yeah? Everyone's been isolating, all 2 meters apart all the time because of coronavirus, yeah? Well, Donald, my brother, for Donald. Nana, mum has been in isolation for about 2 or 3 months, yeah? Not allowed to touch anybody, yeah? Right, Donald. You have been isolating with, what's her name again? Amelia and Louis. Yeah? Amelia and Louis. And Tracy, and you, Donald, my brother, Donald. You've been isolating with your family, haven't you? With Amelia, with Millie, and with Louis, and Tracy, yes? So you've been isolating and stuck in the house, yeah? So you're pretty safe. I think it's safe to say that you're pretty safe now, Donald. To be honest, Donald, I think your family is pretty safe from this virus at the moment. If you've been, you know, the isolation or something. But I think it's safe enough to go to Granny, to Mum. Donald, I really do think you've been isolating for about 2 or 3 weeks or whatever. Mum's been isolated for whatever. But I mean, the point is, I think it's safe enough for Granny to hug her grandchildren. I think Millie and Louie, yeah, test subjects, Don. We could use them as test subjects. Do you think Louie and Millie might be safe enough to hug their grandmother by now, Don? Don't you think now? Really? It's probably safe enough for Louie and Millie to hug grandma, Granny, because that's all they need really, Don. To be honest with you, Don, Mum really needs a good hug. And I think it's pretty much safe enough for Millie and Louie to hug their grandmother, and for you to hug Mum as well, Don, because you're in isolation too, aren't you? But I'm not. I can't hug Mum yet because I'm a postman. Truth is, Donald, my little brother, Donald, I can't hug Mum yet because because of this virus, I am a postman, so I'm in contact with people to a point. To a certain point, I am in contact with people, so I might catch the virus if I get too close, sort of thing, you know, Donald? Right, truth is, I can't hug Mum yet because I'm a postman and I have to do my job and I get close to people. But like Donald, but you've been in isolation for about 2 or 3 months or whatever. Mum's in isolation for 2 or 3 months. Now, I think it's safe enough for Louie and Millie to hug their grandmother. I think that's what grandmothers really would need. I think that's what grandmothers in the whole wide world, I think what grandmothers really need is a bloody good hug. A bloody good hug from their grandchildren. That's life, man. That's what life's about, innit? That's what fucking life is about. Grandmothers need hugs. Granddads need hugs too. If they're alive, granddads need hugs too. I think the problem is with this virus, like, because of got a coronavirus and everyone's getting the flu, or not quite as many as it's probably made out. But the point is, I think grandmothers and grandfathers, what they really, really fucking want, not money, because they're too fucking old. Yeah, we could do with a lot more money if we're old. When we're old, we do with a lot more money when we're old. But the point is, what grandparents really need is a hug from their grandchildren. I think that's what grandparents really need to keep them alive. To keep grandparents alive is a hug from their grandchildren. But, with this coronavirus. But you've been in isolation for about 3 or 4 weeks or months or whatever now, haven't you? You've been in this isolation for about 3 or 4 months or weeks or whatever. Yeah, but so that means you're pretty much safe. I think it's safe for children to cuddle their grandparents. I think, it's what, 7th is it or something? I can't remember what day it is, I don't know. But I think it's pretty much safe enough now. It's 2020, yeah, 2020. We've had this fucking coronavirus, scared shitless stuff. But I think it's pretty much safe. If your children have been isolating in the house, sort of thing, for the last few months, and your grandmother has been isolating in her house for 2 months or 3 months or whatever, I think it is pretty much safe enough now. I think it is probably pretty much safe enough to give your grandmother a hug. Let's be honest, man. Let's be fucking honest. And let's try and be honest forever. I'd like to be honest with you. Yes, God. I'd like to be honest with you forever. But the point is, right, the children, they're not going to school at the moment because of this coronavirus, yeah? And the families are in isolation, yeah. 2020. Families are in isolation. Okay, and your grandmother and grandfather if you're lucky. Grandmother and grandfather, they're in isolation too. So you're not allowed to touch each other, are you? It broke my heart. I'm a postman, right? I'll tell you one thing. It's a big thing. No, I'm a postman. And the truth is, it almost broke. I was really sort of like, I got my ear to the ground, you know. Go on, posting. I was delivering post to the Bigs, and she was looking at her grandchildren through the car window. Yeah. Now she was actually looking at her grandchildren through the car window. Yeah, and she couldn't hug her grandchildren. I felt that, and then poor woman. Now she's a grandmother, but she couldn't hug her grandchildren because of this coronavirus. And the children were stuck in the car. And all Granny wants is to hug her kids. Isn't that all grandmothers want? Isn't that what being a grandparent is about? Hugging the little children, hugging the children, hugging their grandchildren. That's what being a grandparent's about, sort of thing. It broke my fucking... I thought about that. I was standing there with my trolley. I'm a postman. I stand in my trolley. I look at Mrs. Biggs. She was sort of like staring at her grandchildren in the car. Because of this coronavirus, she was looking at her children in the car. Her grandchildren in the car. Waving, hi grandma, hello, but you couldn't touch, and I thought, you know what grandparents really need is a hug. When you get old, when you get really old, you know, what you really want is a hug, isn't it? From your grandchildren. That's what people really want, isn't it? Isn't that what it's about? Life, isn't that about what life's about? Every generation creating the next generation. I swear to God, all the grandparents in the world, grandparents, they're the old people, by the way, who you give shit pensions to. There's another thing I'm pissed off about, is you know how pensions have been really low for the last 40 or 50 years or whatever. Pensions are really shit for people. But shouldn't you really look after the old people of the world? I know you treat old people like shit. The old people have been treated like shit by the government for the last 50 or 40 years. Well, forever, really. Let's face it, you know, pensions are fucking crap for old people. But surely, when you get old and retire, then you should get a decent fucking pay so that you can relax when you're very old. But it is very hard for old people to relax if they get a shit fucking pension. You know, 60, I don't know how much you get paid now, but it's crap. The problem with this fucking world is that you do not look after the old people. You know, the old people, however long you live for. You get tired when you're about 70, don't you? Most people get tired when they're about 70. So I'm saying, sort of like, give the old people the fucking decent fucking money. Pay them respect. What you should do with old people, especially very old people, you should pay them respect. The old people were children a few years ago. All these old people in your retirement homes, for instance, all these old people who get to about 80 or 90 or whatever, or 100 whatever, they were children 100 years ago. They were the children 90 years ago. These old people in the retirement homes, they were the children 80 years ago or 70 or 90 years ago. They were the children then. You are the children now. Now you are the children, you see. Now you are the children. You are all children now. We are all children now. We have always been children. You see, there's a child. There is a child in each one of us trying hard to break free. A nervous, frightened child. A long-forgotten memory. But the child, he sleeps soundly somewhere inside my brain. I've forgotten the fucking words. There's a child in each one of us trying hard to break free. A nervous, frightened child. A long-forgotten memory. But the child's awoken when he knows I'm in pain. And when I need reminding. I've forgotten the fucking words of that poem. That's a nice poem, but it's a really old one. But I'm just saying, it's like grandparents like have been in isolation. You know, your grandparents, your grandmother and your grandfather, because of this coronavirus, they've been in isolation for a couple of months, 2 months or whatever. So your grandmother is in isolation, your grandfather in isolation. But the grandchildren also, because they're not been going to school. So they're in isolation too. They've been in isolation with their parents too. So I think it's safe enough now about this coronavirus. I think it's safe enough now for the grandchildren to get a hug from the grandmother. I think that's safe enough now. And the grandfather. I think it's safe enough now for grandchildren to hold their grandparents. Because grandma and grandpa, Nana and Granddad, have been in isolation for 2 or 3 months or whatever. Yeah? Because of this coronavirus. And the grandchildren have been staying at home with mummy and daddy, so they ain't got the cold either. So they ain't got the flu either. So I think it's pretty much safe enough for the grandchildren to get to hug their grandparents. Yeah, it's Friday, isn't it? It's about the 7th of May or whatever. But it's Friday. Yeah, VE Day apparently, Peace Day. But I think it's probably safe enough. Because you know your grandchildren at home, your mother's at home, you know. I think it's probably safe enough for grandchildren and grandparents to get together. Right, first step. I know we've got this coronavirus, yeah. I know we've got this coronavirus which catches from blah, 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 blah. But I think it's probably safe enough for the grandchildren and grandparents to hug each other, to have a hug. I think it's safe enough for a hug. Because if the children are isolating with their parents and the grandparents are isolating too, I think it's probably safe enough for Granny and Granddad to hug their children, to hug their grandchildren. I think that's probably safe enough to hug your grandchildren. I can't hug my mum now because I am a postman. Now, I'm a postman. So I basically can't hug my mum right now because I'm still a little bit at risk from this virus, apparently. So apparently I'm sort of like at risk from this virus a little bit because I'm a postman and I meet a lot of people, I talk to a lot of people. Being a postman, I talk to a lot of people. And I meet a lot of people and I say hello to a lot of people. So I'm sort of like at risk. So I can't hug my mum. No, at the moment I cannot hug my mummy. I want to hug my mummy more than you can possibly believe. I would love to hug my mummy more than you could possibly believe. I need a fucking good hug, okay? I need a fucking hug from my mum. Let's get this finished. I need a hug from my mum personally, but I cannot hug my mum because I'm a postman and I talk to people. So I'm in contact with people about this virus, I'm in contact with people. But I think if the children are in isolation and the grandparents are in isolation, it should basically be safe enough. It should be basically safe enough for the grandchildren to hug their grandparents. Hug your granddad, hug your grandmum, hug your nana. You know what I mean? I think it's probably safe enough for the children to hug their grandparents. Anyway, I've got to go to bed because I'm fucking drunk.